Welcome to another episode of Start to Finish, fueling discipline, focus, and the right mindset. Um, I hope I find everyone doing great. Welcome to another episode where we talk about start to finish. It's all about finishing, it's all about reaching our end goals, it's all about having the right mindset. Especially when we are faced with challenges, with circumstances that wants to derail us from going after our dreams. So today we're talking about the inevitable, something that we cannot change, but that will happen whether we like it or not. So many times we want to always avoid the inevitable, right? And I'm talking about things like change. Change is inevitable. It will happen whether you like it or not. There are disruptors in the market right now. There are things that are just going to disrupt our lives. COVID disrupted our lives just like that. For the next 4-5 years, things just changed. And you look at AI, it's another game changer, which is like taking away employment. If you are not learning, if you're not doing anything about it, you are left behind. Another change or the inevitable that will always happen in our life that we avoid talking about, that we avoid thinking about. We don't want to hear that D word. Death. You heard me right. Dying. We will all die at some point in our lives. I know it's a controversial thing to talk about because we fear talking about it. We think maybe when we talk about it, we are like conjuring something or the higher power to say, I'm ready to go. But I think death can be a beautiful thing depending on how you're going to look at it. Just hold on a minute. Stay with me on this one. I'm not here to bring fear, but I'm just here to just bring this conversation, to say, let's start talking about it. Let's start thinking about, at some point, I'll be non-existent on this earth. What does that do to you when you begin to think about the inevitable? I think it's knowing that you will die and you don't even have a say in knowing. Then why avoid talking about it? Why avoid thinking about it? Why avoid sharing it, even with your children, so that everyone understands? If they don't see me in existence tomorrow, they'll know, oh, dad is gone. But the question is, if dad is no longer there, what did I leave my children? What did I leave the world? I should leave a legacy. I like the words of Miles Monroe, which he said, the richest place in the world is the graveyard. Because there are dreams that we never realized. You went with your music, you went with your grand ideas, you never brought it to life. So understanding and knowing that at some point, this will all be over, I think brings us to a place where we know we don't have time. We are living in a borrowed time. So if that time is limited, and I don't even know a day when it happens, I must use my time very well. I must treat others with dignity. I must spend time with my family. Because sometimes you're thinking, you know what? Let me grind more and I'll see my kids later on. Then before you know it, you don't have time with them. Then you live in regrets. Or you're not doing as much as you should. And you regret why you had not given enough effort to it. That thing that you were so passionate about. So I think when we begin to look at dying in that way, knowing that it's a season that will come. Let me read you a scripture. From Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 to 2, it says, "There is a season for everything, and a time for every event under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what was planted." So it was designed that way. You are born, then you grow through life. Maybe your life is cut short in your journey. But I think the question we should always ask ourselves is, did I leave a legacy for my family, for the world? Do I have something out there that maybe one day someone will come across and say, wow, someone passed through this world? Or my kids will always refer to their kids in that order. What is it that you're going to leave behind when you're beyond the grave? I'll refer back to Miles Monroe. God rest his soul. Up to this point, I even go back to his sermons, the wisdom that, he gave to the world. You go on YouTube, you Google him, and you are learning. And this is material of someone who has passed on. So why fear the inevitable? Why not embrace it and allow it to bring purpose to your life and allow it to bring order to your life? Because it's a season that will come, just like when you were born to this world and your family was so happy, you also pass to the next. I guess sometimes if we talk about the conversation, it even makes it easier for our families when we go on, or we are elevated to the next life. Let's not fear the inevitable. Let's embrace it and find ways to learn from it, to prepare our minds and ourselves, and do the best we can with the life that we have. Because my main ethos is we have to discover the best version of ourselves whilst we are breathing, whilst we have this one life. Because we only have one life to live. It's not two. At the end of the day, there's only one coda in this world, one fingerprint. There's no identicals, only me, and that's it. And only you, and that's it. So let's live the best version of ourselves. Let's love while we can. Let's forgive while we can. Why spend, your days angry and bitter and living in resentment? Simplify life by understanding that we'll pass on to the next life. So we better make the best of where we are right now on this journey. Let's not avoid the inevitable. Let's not avoid the known. We always talk about the world of the unknown, but there are those known things that has been designed before we even arrived on this earth, and that will continue even after we are gone. I think if we understand and embrace them, they will give us a certain competitive edge to become the better version of ourselves, to become more empathic, to have more empathy, to be more kinder to others, because the world needs that at this point in our journey. And most importantly, when you are here on earth, it's about legacy. What are you going to leave behind? Especially when we are looking at and knowing that we'll reach that place where we'll go into the afterlife. What are you going to leave? What are you going to be known for? Have you done all that it takes to leave that legacy? When I look at myself, I'm a young man. I've got 2 young kids, and I'm expecting another one. But there's always that inevitable thing. So I'm always bargaining with my God and saying, you know what? give me more time, even if I get that time or not. But what I do with the time that I have right now will make a dent in my kid's life. Imagine being taken, not having spent time, even an hour or a good time with your family, and you're constantly putting it off, procrastinating or pushing it away. Some new thing comes in. There's always going to be something that comes in the way of you and your dreams, of you and spending time with your loved ones. But I think it's about structuring it to make sure you do it. I had an interview of one of this millionaire who was saying every week, every Thursday, I think, he makes sure he finishes work at 5 o'clock and is going to dinner with his wife. Imagine that. With all that money, with all that success, making sure you spend time with your family. He goes home, they do their dinner, they do their thing. Once he has provided that time to his loved ones, he then decides either to go back to work or to sleep and start again tomorrow. So I think if we begin to appreciate that we are not here forever, we are mortal, not immortal. There are things that we must start doing. We all have 24 hours. I'm sure in your time that you have, you can surely master a way of utilizing that time, to your growth, to your success, and to also making sure the loved ones in your life are also part of that journey. I was looking at a couple of people who have gone before us. I wasn't much of a basketball person, but when Kobe Bryant passed, his story went all over the world, and a lot of people talked about him. And that's the thing, when you leave a good legacy, people will always share those things to the world. His time came, he went early to some, but what he left is what people are going to refer to, is what his kids are going to refer to. Then likewise, what I was talking about, Miles Monroe, his messages are out there. There are people who are getting born again from his message that he preached whilst he was alive. He's still impacting people even beyond the grave. Then there's this young man, Chadwick Boseman. He was one of my favorites. But we are all human at the end of the day. But it's all about the legacy. What legacy will you leave beyond the grave? I had a cousin of mine, amazing man, and it happened so quickly. He speak to me in the morning, how are you? I'm good, bro. What's happening? You're chatting, da-da-da-da. 1 minute, the next meeting, the guy is gone, just like that. But on his funeral, the amount of people who showed up, who had testimonies on how, his life, it touched them. So sometimes you look at that and say, someone hasn't gone early. They did what they were supposed to do whilst they were on earth. So what legacy are you going to leave? How are your kids going to remember you? How do you want to be remembered? So I've brought it into your living room right now. Let's start thinking about it. But look at it from a beautiful point and let it fuel you to become a better person, a better version of yourself. I remember watching a movie a couple of years back. It's called The Express. And it's a biopic about a young man called Annie Davis. brilliant young men playing American football, and going through all every I think black American has gone through all these challenges with life, with racism, with everything, but he excelled in his talent. He did very well. At the pinnacle, at the peak, he's just won a Heisman Trophy. I think it's a college recognition, one of the highest. At the age of 23, he's gone. Cancer. He's looking forward to a bigger life beyond. But just by watching that film, you see how futile life is. It can just disappear overnight. 1 minute you are here, the other minute you are gone. But his story now became a movie, and I'm sure so many people like me were impacted by how the challenges that he went through and how he overcame them. That's right, there is the journey of life. So it's all about the legacy. Let's not fear the inevitable. Let's embrace it and do so that we can become the better version of ourselves. Then I was looking at, if we embrace the inevitable, what will happen if we just embrace the inevitable? Anything that is inevitable, anything that will happen in our lives, whether we like it or we don't, what will happen to our lives? What improvement will happen to our lives? What accomplishments will happen to our lives if we just know this is inevitable? So I better, shift my gear here and be a better version of myself. When we embrace the inevitable, I think we are able to act. We're able to take action. We're able to implement everything that is in front of us. We become implementers, because we know that change is happening. You are in business, change is happening every single day. 21st century, the level of shift that is happening out there requires someone who's just looking out to change with those transformation that is taking place. So we take action. We don't waste any time. You want to make sure you use every minute, every second. I think we will love and will forgive. We have more compassion. We will have more empathy. I believe that's what it does to embrace the inevitable. I'm sure we'll mend relationships. Any broken relationship, you would want it to correct it. You don't want to leave any stone unturned. I'm sure there will be a level of accountability to yourself and to the world. You don't give yourselves to fear and failure. You will know that it's part of the journey. Use the knowledge of knowing we all die at some point to better yourselves. Ask yourself the question, if I only have a couple of days to live, what would I do different?